Hi, welcome Raj. So in this mock interview round, we are going to evaluate dynamic agents and agent middleware concepts for a GenAI delivery lead at Persistent System. And the strategy would be same, where the system would be raising a question and you will be responding, and we will then evaluate and identify the gaps. Okay. So we are going to get started with our first question. So the first question is,
how would you evaluate whether an agent middleware layer is necessary in a multi-agent GenAI system?
yeah, you can go on, please.
Yeah, so it is purely based on the GenAI system. So if suppose if I as an architect, if I'm going to design a GenAI system which involves kind of a multiple systems, if you want to connect the multiple systems, let's say ER enterprise ERP, CRM, SharePoint, or some other third-party applications. If the multiple systems get involved, for each systems will having we need to handle the authentication, authorization, everything. So that's a so we need to have to handle that authentication, authorization, and access role based whatever the access control is there. So this to handle all those things with the different systems. So instead of calling each systems, and we have to tend to into the mm, maintainability will be a huge maintainability. That's the reason. So as I did, I will be adding a middleware layer. The middleware layer will take place all the record authentication, authorization, access control, as well as it will that middleware itself directly it will call the respective post access and authorization post. It will directly call all the internal application, and it will process whatever the request has to be done. Devanshu.
Okay. So here's a follow-up question. Can you describe how can you conduct a cost-benefit analysis comparing direct agent communications versus middleware overheads? If you want me to repeat the question, I can do that. So the question is, how can you conduct a cost-benefit analysis comparing direct agent communication versus middleware overheads?
So if I, as actor, if I want to do the cost control means, uh, mm, so if I want to pass the request from via middleware layer, so what is uh, the infrastructure, what is the licensing model, what is the to send tokens, what are information to that via the middle layer. Just a second. To the middleware layer, through the middleware. So what is the costing incur? With that, I believe I can evaluate it, Devanshu.
Okay. Okay. Let's get to the next question.
In a dynamic multi-agent system, how would you measure and improve agent orchestration reliability under changing tools, prompts, and latency constraints?
In a dynamic multi-agent system, how would you measure and improve agent orchestration reliability under changing tools, prompt, and latency constraints? So in a multi-agent system, so whenever the user sends a query, the LLM will interpret what is the language, what is the ask from the user. So yeah, once the ask is there, there will be the AI orchestration will be there, and AI orchestration in the middle of the LLM model. LLM model in turn will decide so which tool we need to call. So based on that, the centralized AI orchestration will be there. So AI orchestration will handle all the routings. We will get the response from the LLM model. So it will be decided. So if the user, if I'm asking about the enrollment policy or anything else, it will decide we need to route it to the enrollment agent. If it is HR means it's the workday agent. It likewise the agent orchestration will reliably and it will route it based on the request. With this tool calling from we can nicely we can construct the prompt kind of context compression of proper context and prompt optimization, which in turn helps the faster response from the models as well as the API. Devanshu.
Okay, sure. Let's get to the next one.
How would you design evaluation criteria for dynamic agents selecting tools and delegating tasks through middleware in an enterprise GenAI architecture?
How would you design evaluation criteria for dynamic agents selecting tools and delegating tasks through middleware? So when comes to the evaluation criteria of dynamic agents, so for each agents, I will be designing a common a schema to get the input and output as a parameters there also. With it, each agents, whatever the are we getting expected outcome, with the outcome where we are passing into the LLM, right? So are we getting a groundedness, faithfulness, uh, as well as accuracy? These are the key criteria I will be evaluating. Uh, as well as through middleware, the role-based access with that access-based data, are we getting it? So even though I will be finance, I may requesting for some other procurement data. So based on that access, we need with the models, the GenAI system also has to provide. So with this, I think with this criteria, I think I can evaluate it.
Okay, let's get to the next one.
A production agent middleware starts misrouting tasks after a new tool is added. How would you diagnose root cause and harden dynamic routing evaluation?
Okay. As an architect, so I will be comparing the uh, previous production results as well as the latest newly added task. What is the results? So I will be comparing. With the comparison, I will be analyzing the impact. So what makes the difference between the two versions? If anything newly added, if any version is missing, any prompt is missing. So are we wrongly passing the schemas, record input and output to the newly added tool, whether it's newly routing, the routing is happened properly or not from the LLM model. Uh, so, so as well as the accuracy, what is the response from the LLM? So if there is any optimization and the compression, we have to do the from the retrieval as well as augmentation. So these kind of improvements I will be adding as well as security basis. So if there any PL masking, is injection, if there anything we need to add it and we have to improve these other things, I will be identifying root cause and I will be do the mitigations for Devanshu.
Okay, sure. Let's get to the next one.
How would you benchmark dynamic agent middleware for policy compliance, cost control, and fallback behavior before enterprise rollouts?
So as a for entire GenAI system, I will be defining the key metrics to make the benchmark. So we're doing a testing and UAT. So what are the metrics we have defined? Kind of AI metrics, business metrics, or operational metrics. So before deploying into it, so in the testing phase, UAT phase, are we the entire model, entire system, whatever we have designed it, are we on target or it will reaching up to that benchmark or not? We'll be validating it. Once it is validated, we'll be getting a proper approval from the uh, business users. So I will be properly defining what is a fallback if the system itself not processing. So what is a fallback by manual or any step-by-step process way to I will be designing all the fallback. So for cost control also, so for a cost control for if you want to track the cost, are we the monitoring or observability tool in place or not? So these are the I think so as the policy complaints, the end-to-end system, are we adherence to the as per the organization policy? As well as we will be doing documentations, right? Are we got the first time right documentations or not for the end-to-end system and that? So these are benchmarks as far as the validations I will be making ready before making to productionize the also.
Okay. Here's a follow-up question. Can you explain what is compliance violation count matrix and how do we calculate that?
Compliance violation.
Count, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that we can in the organization ways we can define it. So because all the documentations, the complaints means there will be a security. So this we can make a track. So every time if whenever we are doing a testing, so if are we missing the complaints first time, it always we would tend to adhere the first time right. So if you are missing the first time right, will be as a documentation purpose, we'll be tracking it whether if it is any documentations we are missing it, any securities, or if it is a regulator body, so we are not following a proper validation tools, means just we are keeping the for documentation will increase the count. So if the count number as a benchmark, I can give as a 1 or 2 because always we need to follow first time right in the throughout the complaints. So if so, I will be working with the through QMS team. And I will be defining what is the organization benchmark count for the complaints. If we are on track, means that will be adhering. I will be implementing that benchmark count in the project wise. Then I will be making sure the team to follow the end-to-end complaints standards, Devanshu.
Okay, great. Let's get to the next one.
How would you validate dynamic agent middleware handles memory, context handoff, and recovery correctly during long-running multi-agent workflows?
No, Devanshu, I don't have idea.
Okay, let's get to the next one.
How would you evaluate dynamic agent middleware against adversarial tool outputs and prompt injection while preserving autonomy, traceability, and safe fallback behavior?
This I would be, I think I can evaluate based on the GenAI system groundedness and faithfulness. What is the accuracy? So with that, so what are the tool outputs we are giving it in the LLM model when before sharing it to the end user, I will be validating what is there any low risk or high risk, and if it is a high risk, I will be involving human loop also as well as along with uh, validating the faithfulness, groundedness, Devanshu.
Okay.
So along with if there is any fallback, I will be safely, I will be triggering a fallback also.
Okay, great. Okay, let's get to the next one.
How would you assess dynamic agent middleware for version tool compatibility, rollout safety, and backward compatibility across evolving multi-agent enterprise workflows?
Tool compatibility, rule safety, and backward agent. I think this weekend to do through the proper CACD and integration of CACD to proper versioning. Throughout the process, we can version the prompt. API versions, we can maintain it. So with that properly through Docker, we can do the images and we can deploy it via the Kubernetes. So they want to whenever if any failure will happen, uh, so we'll be defining a proper rollout to the previous version. So the rollout that is let's say backward compatibility across the project will be maintaining version-based deployment. If any user through the URLs anything else I will be passing the versions also with that version number capture version number and will be redirecting to the each version's tools there also.
Okay, sure. Let's get to the next one.
How would you evaluate dynamic agent middleware for state consistency, idempotency, and duplicate action prevention during retries, partial failures, and concurrent multi-agent execution?
How would you evaluate dynamic first? So yeah, I design such a way whenever designing that AI agent with the planner with the different agents, I will be making sure whenever the failures will come, I will be checking the retry. After the proper retries, there should not be to avoid item potential duplicate creation whenever the um, so I will be designing such a way to avoid the duplicate entries via the API they want so. So in the retries also, I will make sure that item potency should not happen. I'll be checking whether the any transaction is there. I will be roll back that particular transaction and retry it once. In case for the partial failures also, I will be I will be such a way to design your proper error handling. I will catch that exception and then I will be commit the transaction. Then I will be retrying it once to make sure that the in the process is complete end to end. So this way, I think I make sure that the process will consistency. It won't create a duplicate entries in the system.
Okay, let's get to the next one.
How would you evaluate dynamic agent middleware for human in the loop escalation, override governance, and auditability in high-risk enterprise decisions?
No idea, Devansh.
Okay, let's get to the next one.
How would you evaluate dynamic agent middleware for observability, causal tracing, and decision explainability across multi-agent workflows without degrading latency or autonomy?
So in this case, I think I believe as architect, I will be providing a separate dashboard for the observability. So there I can evaluate the token usage, um, costing and latency, and what are the errors we are getting it, what are the failures. Uh, so what is the AI units usage? So for each request, what are the detailed usage? What is the input tokens, output tokens? What is the response? It will be help us to improve the prompt, the context and prompt optimization and all that. So I think with this we can evaluate it.
Okay, let's get to the next one.
I think most of our questions for new only.
No problem.
How would you evaluate dynamic agent middleware for learning-driven adaptation without causing reward hacking, policy drift, or unstable coordination across enterprise multi-agent workflows?
So in this case, I will design such a way to more tightly with the security. security and access control, to properly defining the access based, the role based or attribute based access, to the proper authentication authorization. When it comes to security, are we having a proper PL data masking or PL masking and encryption at the rest and the transit, as well as the whenever constructing the prompt to the LLMs. So I will be avoiding I will make sure the prompt injection should not happen. So in that, when a response comes back from the models, I will be making sure that if any sensitive data is there before sharing as a response to the end user, I will be masking it whatever required and make sure the injection never happened. These are things I will be considering it as maybe for policy driven and unstable coordination. Devanshu.
Okay, sure. Okay.